everybody, my name is Sharon Madigan and I'm one of the dietitians with the pulmonary rehab team. Today I would just like to go through some bits and pieces regarding how and when you eat can make a difference in terms of your lung health. A lot of people sometimes aren't that sure where diet and nutrition comes into this, but in terms of eating, it's really important that you do have a regular eating pattern because from a point of view of lung disease, you can become very vulnerable if, number one, you lose your appetite or you're eating relatively infrequently, because this can increase your risk of getting infections. So from a point of view of COPD or lung disease, there's a range of different ways that people present regarding potentially their weight as a starting point. So for some people with lung disease, they can put on quite significant amounts of weight, and that can be due to a variety of different things. It can be due to the medicines or medications that people are taking. It may be because you're much less active than you were, or as we get older, sometimes we also put on weight as well. So it can be a combination of different things. For some people with lung disease, then they actually lose quite a lot of weight. And again, that can be because of the medications that you're taking. It can be because you're actually not eating as much, and that can be due to a range of different things as well. Sometimes people struggle with eating when they're quite breathless, or for example in the morning time people can actually be coughing, bringing up a lot of phlegm, and sometimes that makes people feel a little bit sick or unwell, and they don't have the energy or the breath to actually eat anything until later in the day. This can be a difficulty because then if people start eating, let's say for example sometime in the afternoon, they've actually missed quite a lot of the day and opportunities to eat. Then what happens as well, if you think about how breathless you are and how much effort that's taken, then quite a lot of people are using up much more calories or energy than they would do normally. So sometimes if you think about it as like running a marathon every single day, it does require a lot of energy, and it's really important that you put those calories or that energy back into your system. So you can see how people would go from maybe being overweight to being significantly underweight. Then we've got people that actually can go between the two. So you can actually start off maybe with being overweight, but you may take a significant chest infection, or you can become very unwell and suddenly you've lost a significant amount of weight. And sometimes some of that weight loss comes from muscle loss, and it's really important that we look to make sure that we stop that weight loss as quickly as possible, because losing muscle actually impacts the feelings of fatigue and tiredness, and also your function. So when we talk about function, that's the basic things like just even putting on a cardigan, taking off a jumper. It can leave you completely exhausted. So it is really important that we ensure that you don't lose weight very quickly, because often that is that muscle mass, and that is one of the reasons why your exercises is really important, because actually what that does is it helps to maintain that muscle mass, particularly around the upper body, which is around your lungs. And when you put that exercise alongside eating regularly and eating well, then that can help maintain that muscle mass and also prevent any future weight loss as well. So what we will share with you as well is a number of different resources in terms of ideas that can help you promote weight gain if you've lost it, or for those that maybe have gained some weight. One of the things that would be really important to do is to stop that weight gain, and then maybe that weight comes off over a period of time. Remember, sometimes people get very disheartened if they've made some changes to what they're doing and they don't see any changes to the scales, for example, tomorrow or the next day. This takes time, so don't be disheartened when you don't see the results that you want really quickly. Also, what I would suggest is that for people that are trying to lose weight, maintaining your weight is a result. So people, if they make changes to what they're eating and they don't see their weight dropping, it can be very disheartening. But remember, if your weight has been going up and up and up and up, and you make some changes and you maintain your weight and it maybe drops off a little bit, this is a result as well. So be very, very happy with that as well. So in terms of weight is important. It's really important that if you are feeling breathless and you struggle with eating, you can make some changes or adaptations to your eating patterns to help with that. Quite often when you have to chew a lot or spend a lot of time chewing, that takes up a lot of energy, and it can be quite tricky if you're trying to breathe and chew at the same time as well. So maybe a softer type diet, foods that contain a lot of gravy or sauces, or mince, for example, rather than say a steak or beef is much easier to have, rather than having, let's say, for example, a big piece of roast beef. Even things like minced turkey or minced chicken is easier to manage as well. Sometimes fish, particularly in a sauce or gravy, is much easier because it tends to melt in your mouth and doesn't require as much chewing, which can take up quite a lot of energy as well. If you struggle in the morning time, what I would suggest is it's really important to have something to break that fast, as they say, because again, what you're doing is you're putting in the nutrients that are going to help protect you against picking up bugs and infections. If you don't eat from, let's say, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock the evening before, and you're feeling a bit nauseous or breathless in the morning, and you end up not eating till 1 o'clock, let's say, in the afternoon, that's a long time that your system has to do without having any nutrients in there that's going to protect you against picking up bugs. So it is important, even if that's just switching from coffee with milk in it to a milky coffee, because that milk will add nutrients into your diet which will help protect your system a little bit. Not only will it help protect, because there's some carbohydrate there which can help your immune system, but also it's got calcium in there as well, and it's got protein. That calcium is going to be really important for your bones, and that protein is going to be really important to help maintain that muscle mass. So things like maybe a yogurt in the morning, maybe a little bit of toast with maybe some banana on it, or some milky coffee, or a very milky tea, or if you need to try and gain weight, something like a hot chocolate in the morning will be important as well. So different things can help, and again, we've given some suggestions of how you can help manage that with some food swaps in terms of gaining weight, calorie increase in calories, and then maybe we have that for breakfast, we have that for lunch, we have that for dinner, and some of our snack ideas as well. So these will be helping food swaps for those that want to gain some weight, and food swaps for maybe those that want to either maintain or lose a little bit of weight as well. So remember, it takes a little bit of time. Things won't happen very quickly, but what you eat and drink can really help with protecting you against picking up infections, dealing with your requirements when you do have an infection, because remember, your breathing will be much more laboured, there'll be a lot more effort required there as well. And then from a point of view of nutrition and how diet can help prevent infections, it's really important that we try and get a variety of different colours, different foods in there to help us keep our protein intake up, keep our fruit and veg intake up as well, because not only are the vitamins and minerals really important, but it has been shown that some of the other things that you get in fruit and veg can help significantly with reducing your risk of picking up infections. So I'm sure people might have heard about the gut microbiome or bugs that are in your gut. And fruit and veg can bring these probiotics. You might have seen some of the drinks like Actimel or Yakult, those types of things are available in the shops. But actually eating fruit and vegetables will give you those types of things as well. And a couple of years ago, a piece of work was done looking at quite a significant amount of people in fruit and veg intake. And I'm sure most of you have heard that we aim for 5 pieces of fruit and veg every day. One of the reasons that if you lived in Australia, actually the recommendations would be 10 pieces of fruit and veg every day. But that's because they're much better at us than eating fruit and veg. Well, this piece of work that was done in London was actually done with people with COPD. And what they showed was that those people that ate 10 pieces of fruit and veg every day or more had less risk of picking up infections. So the evidence is there that if we can increase our fruit and veg really on a regular basis, it can help us protect ourselves against infections. And I think most of us all know that we are supposed to do that, but sometimes actually doing it is much trickier. And it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. I know what to do, but at this point in time, I think I've probably had 2 or 3 pieces of fruit and veg. So I'm going to have to work really, really hard on that. So ways to do that as well is, yes, fresh, frozen, tinned, they're all useful. And I think if you live on your own or you're struggling with cooking or prepping, frozen is as good as fresh. So don't be worried about that. It's actually probably much more cost effective. And if you think about it, you could potentially add, things like spinach that people might not buy fresh because it goes off really quickly. You can add a handful of frozen spinach into, a stew, or you can add that to the side. If you're making anything else, you can have frozen berries in the fridge or the freezer, which are really cost effective. And again, these are great added to things like your Weetabix or your porridge in the morning. So these are simple ways that we can add a little bit of extra to what we're doing as well. And finally, there's a couple of pieces that's really, really important, I think, as well, in terms of helping you, number 1, protect yourselves against infections, but 2, may have a link in terms of that muscle mass as well. And one of them is vitamin D. Vitamin D can be got from some foods, but actually our main source of it is actually from the sunlight. And it's from sunlight probably around June or July, but sometimes with things like hay fever, a lot of people don't really like to sit out in the sun, or if we're using sun cream on our skin. So by taking vitamin D supplements, probably year round, I think from a point of view of lung disease, it appears that even those that are getting out and about may not be getting as much during the summertime. But certainly into the winter, we're much more likely at becoming deficient in vitamin D. And vitamin D has a number of different roles, primarily to protect your bones along with calcium, but it has been shown to help reduce potentially the risk of infection. And thirdly, it has been shown that it can help in terms of maintaining your muscle mass. So a vitamin D supplement through the winter it's not that expensive. You can get it from your GP on prescription, or you can buy it from the chemist. So a vitamin D supplement probably year round is probably something to think about. And finally, the other thing that I think that how you eat and when you eat can have a role is probably in its effect with sleep. So sleep is important, not only to help you recover from your daily functions, but it can help protect you against, if we're not getting enough sleep, we're probably much more vulnerable in terms of our systems. We're probably much more likely to put on weight as well if we're not getting enough sleep. So by looking at how and when you eat, it can help in terms of that. And one of the simple ways that some people have found that can help with sleep is actually by the addition of foods that contain some of the sleep enhancing hormones that's there. And one of those, would you believe, are things like kiwi. And some research has shown that by increasing your kiwis maybe about an hour before you want to go to sleep, by taking them 2 a day in the evening time, can help promoting sleep, not only getting over to sleep in the first place, but the length of time that you do sleep. And guess what? That has another benefit as well, because if you're increasing your kiwis to help with your sleep, it's also adding to that fruit and veg piece as well that can help with fighting infections as well. So these things kind of all build together, and they're all very much linked. Some of the other things that can help with sleep are taking, let's say for example, a milky drink at night, and again that has the added benefit of having calcium that can help with your bones, and also protein that'll help maintain that muscle mass as well. So lots of these things all work together like a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, and I think it is important that we do make sure that we are eating regularly, we're eating consistently, and being aware that if you do have an infection, that can really have a big impact on your appetite. So don't use appetite as a driver for eating. You've got to set yourself some goals and objectives to see eating as a medicine, particularly when you are feeling unwell. So I hope you've taken some points from this chat today, and I hope if you have any issues that you want to deal with, maybe on a one-to-one basis, you can ask the team to get referred to me, and hopefully down the line that might be at clinic, but if not, certainly I can make some calls to you and we can discuss maybe some of the issues that you might want to discuss on a one-to-one. Thank you very much.